New Hampshire is over. The obituary writers are working overtime on Nikki Haley's campaign. Not that Nikki Haley is reading them, as she has vowed to carry on. So we got to go to our man, Michael Cohen, the man who wrote the book on modern political campaigns. How you doing, Michael?
Good, good. Kind of an early night last night.
Yeah, not
Keeping
Iowa
it
early,
early.
not Iowa early, right? Where
Hmm.
Iowa was called seconds as the caucuses began. But I think I got back to Austin because I decided to bail on staying because I thought I knew what was going to happen, and I
What you
pretty
did.
much did.
Yeah, what you
Uh,
did.
but by the time that I got from the airport to my house, the AP had called it. So it was 7:12, 12 minutes after final polls closed. The AP called the race. And as I am looking at it now during our recording session, this is on Wednesday. It is 93% counted and a 11 point and change lead for
Right.
Donald Trump. So let's start here. Surprises?
Um, Not too many. I mean, I think the way we look at this is okay. It's an expectations game, right? Because
Yeah.
we have basically we're two states in, and we're trying to figure out if there's any pathway for a challenger to Trump. So for Haley, she got both good and bad news, which is basically the story of her entire campaign. The good news was she outperformed the polls, which had her down 19 going into
Yeah.
last night, right?
Yeah.
But she loses by a little bit over 11, right? So that's the good
Yeah.
news. That's somehow the good news. But the bad news is that she still lost, right?
Yeah.
She was supposed to come in second in Iowa, came in third, went to New Hampshire, was riding it, and said, okay, well, after Iowa, we're going to go in and win New Hampshire. Then it became, well, maybe we'll come close. Well, maybe it will be within five. And then during the during the evening, maybe it'll be within seven. An unnamed staffer said to a reporter who's probably has no job this morning. And
Yeah.
then Trump comes on when he's up 14. It settles in at 11, but the whole thing goes off the rails. So the surprise is that Haley is in this terrible netherworld when you're a candidate. She's neither should leave completely, like she wasn't totally blown away where she should be out, but she doesn't really have a path forward and certainly no momentum. So she's in this in between where she has to decide whether or not she wants to get embarrassed in her home state.
There's
That's surprising.
phases.
You know?
There's phases to campaigns, right? And
Mhm.
especially political, big presidential campaigns where we spent about a year talking about promise. And you can cherry pick polls and you can show strong fundraising and then you can do an event where more people show up and promise is the coin of the realm. Oh my God. Well, look at this and you can write your amazing pathway to where you're going to go. But we're past that now. We're
Yeah,
not
yeah,
in the land of promise. We're in the land of win or go home. This is not the regular season. This is not the preseason. This
yeah.
is the playoffs. And what blows me away about the Haley strategy now, and I gotta wonder how long it's gonna last, because you can lie to yourself, you can lie to your team can lie to you, you can lie to your voters, but and your base. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to get on a phone call with people who are writing these checks, and these checks are about to get a lot bigger. Because past South Carolina, now we're dealing with multiple states per day. Super Tuesday's coming up. That's like 10 states that you have to deal with, and it's the most
Yeah.
expensive media markets that we have. So you need to do that, and those checks are going to be exponentially larger than they are now. And you got to convince some rich people to say, yeah, I want to write that gigantic check.
Yeah.
And if they come away not pleased, then this is kind of over, right?
It is. I mean, the upside is that, as Haley has told us, basically every speech she's ever given, she's an accountant, so she knows where the money is, right?
Well,
So
yeah.
she theoretically has enough money to go into South Carolina, and she keeps talking about going into Super Tuesday. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, she's going to start bleeding people who are going to have to knock on doors. Even if she has enough money, the the real energy has come out of the campaign. I mean, if you look back at Haley's campaign now as just an early postmortem, she's not Barack Obama. She didn't take
Nope.
off in Iowa. She's not John McCain. She didn't win in New Hampshire. And now she's rolling into South Carolina thinking that she might be Biden, but she's not, because she's not, because people who run for office, particularly for president in South Carolina, you need the institutions behind you, and Trump has them.
Yes.
And so, she's not, a wow. She's not an insurgent, and she's not a maverick. I mean, what is Nikki Haley at this point? I mean, the real question I have left is, who is Nikki Haley? I don't think Nikki Haley knows what kind of a candidate she is anymore, other than one who doesn't want to give up to Trump. And I think that
she's
there's
not
something
Donald
laudable
Trump.
there. Right. There's something laudable there that she doesn't want to give up to Donald Trump at this point. But the fact of the matter is that, I mean, accountants are pretty clear-eyed. And, she's talked about how her campaign's not about emotion. But at this point, you have to say to yourself, where's the path?
What else do you need to see? Because I think we agreed, and you've been on this show, we've talked privately, that the pathway was the revenge of John McCain 2000.
Right.
That you shock the world in New Hampshire, and then you do what John McCain couldn't because you were the governor, and you win in South Carolina as opposed to losing like McCain did to W. Bush back in that election.
Right.
But it didn't happen. And this was, people have listened to me, at least the patrons of this podcast, but I called you and was texting you after I left the first Nikki Haley rally, and I'm, especially now looking at this, she's 11 points down. It's malpractice to not be running a campaign that is acting like you're going to shock the world. I don't understand the instinct to expectation manage when this is it. This is at a certain point you have to win. At a certain point you have to beat Donald Trump, and that was your best shot. And for her to say, you got to make sure in the general election that you think no, we're going to shock the world. We're going to do it. We're going to do what nobody else could do. 11 people tried. They all failed. I'm going to do it. You know it. I know it. Let's go to the poll on Tuesdays. There was more of a base here than what the polling showed. New Hampshire wanted to do something. And I saw 2 events of hers in New Hampshire. Both of them had 3/4 of people that were listening to her for the first time. She had her she had them do the hand raise thing. And I don't think that those people left jazzed.
No. They know what a Maverick looks like. They know what a Maverick sounds like. They have voted for Mavericks, right?
Yes.
And so, when Nikki Haley walks in with her, I'm an accountant stick. I mean, that the least Mavericky people you've ever met are accountants. Okay?
Yeah.
Right. And so, when you and I were talking about this and you said to me, she didn't really light the place on fire, I'm like, damn, she's done,
Toast.
And, we knew it was going to be a bad time. I mean, I think the high point of Nikki Haley's campaign, if you're looking back at when she slacked Vivek, and really ended him. But then she had this moment where she had a one-on-one with DeSantis in Iowa, and she did not perform well. She did not win that debate. And I know that there's plenty of people who, who are Nikki Haley partisans. I mean, shit, I've got the bumper sticker and the button.
Yep.
Who wanted to believe that she won that debate. And I'm sure if you scored it on points, maybe she won a couple, but you don't win those things on points. You got to pummel your opponent and have them walking out just dazed and confused. And, Ron DeSantis, who left the campaign not long after, was not dazed and confused after got that debate stage. He's looking at her and going, yeah, she's next. And basically that's what happened. Chris Christie knew she was going to get quote unquote smoked. Right?
Smoked.
If there's one thing Christie is great at, is understanding his opponents. And he looked at her and he said, she's not going to win. And he's right.
And I think that is something that Christie knew, that he's like, all right, you want to know what? If I can get within 10 points of Trump in New Hampshire, then I can do that. Chris Christie can do that. He can go out and barnstorm and hit every little place and fire everybody up, have them jumping up and down, screaming, believing that they're going to shock the world, that New Hampshire belongs on the map at a time when New Hampshire's place in our electoral nomination process is more tenuous than ever, since we had a fake Democratic primary that Joe Biden won via write-in because he had eliminated it from the calendar. That Chris Christie believed he could do it. And I want to formally apologize to Chris Christie because I underestimated his ability to read at least the room. I hope he gets back on television. I hope he starts a podcast immediately, because I do think he is a very astute mind, at least when it comes to it, because when he said on a hot mic during his during his speech, he said that she was going to get smoked. He was right. Absolutely right.
She killed him on a hot mic. I mean, I'm sorry, he killed her on a hot mic.
Yeah, on a hot mic.
And on a hot mic, yeah. I mean, it just totally revealed everything you needed to know about the campaign. And the fact of the matter is, I mean, we are now in a situation where you have to say to yourself, okay, what does Nikki Haley really want at this point?
Yeah.
If she wants to be president of the United States, she needs to get out and endorse and just go away and hope that Trump forgives her over time or something. That's slim and none. And to be honest with you, Nikki Haley, what she would really want if you were to put her in an MRI and, reveal her soul, would say, hey, look, I want this guy to lose so badly. I mean, this is the NeverTrump playbook, right?
Yeah.
This guy needs to lose so badly, either to somebody in the party or someone, a Democrat, that everyone recognizes, even Trump partisans, that, oh, man, we can't win this way. And the fact of the matter is the Trump people aren't there yet. They want their guy. They want another shot. They see a very weak incumbent. And that's what Trump said last night. Anybody could beat this guy. That's his argument. You might as well have me, because anybody's going to be able to beat this guy. You don't need a Nikki Haley. You can have me, the guy you actually want, because this guy who's the incumbent is so beatable. And so that's a fairly cohesive argument for a guy who doesn't really, make money on cohesiveness.
I have been shocked at how efficient, smart, and brutal the Trump 2024 campaign has been. His 2016 campaign was a rambling wreck that, they were like that baseball team that just gets hot. Yeah. At the right team, and it's like they get all the bounces, and the other team's
bouncing
best player
balls
gets
came,
hurt.
and you get Patrick Ewing. Yeah,
exactly. It's like that's that 2022 bloated money incinerator. They convinced themselves that they should rent arenas for every political event because they could get phone numbers, and then shocker, they ran out of money by June when they didn't have to run events because of COVID. That's insane. That you didn't actually have to run a campaign and you still ran out of money by July. But
insane,
this one
is still
on
brand.
Yeah, I mean, it was on brand because it's him. Yeah. But this campaign,
not professional. Yeah.
What this campaign has realized is, number one, they're smart messaging wise. Chris LaCivita was taking his victory lap yesterday in all the political press. And he's like, you want to know what? We killed Nikki Haley because we hit her on both sides. We hit the two ads were she's weak on the border and she's going to take away your Social Security. That's a position that very smart people can realize only Trump can take, because that's the advantage of Donald Trump, is that he's not ideologically pinned down to one side. So he can say, don't worry, old people. We will give you your money forever. I'll make the math work. I'm a deal guy. Who cares, right? He's not Paul Ryan. He's not looking for entitlement reform. No, and he's also, I'm brutal. I am, Pat Buchanan calls me and says, don't be so mean to the border. Like, that's how strong I am on the border. And nobody else can do that. They took advantage of it in a very traditional and very efficient way that dismantled a candidate that was running against him on, wouldn't it be nice if you could like your president? Trump versus Biden's going to be really bad. And it's like, that's not a thing. That's a thing you say to your friend. That's not a reason to go vote. It's not a reason to leave your house.
It's not a message. And
it's a take. It's a podcast take.
It is, and it's kind of a mediocre take, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's boring.
yeah, it is boring. It's an account. You're an accountant, not a leader, right?
Yeah.
I mean, exactly what DeSantis did to her on that debate. I guess, if you are Trump, there are some warning signs, right? And so you look
Okay.
at what the exit polls are over in New Hampshire. I mean, the good part, you won a double-digit victory. That's
Yep.
excellent. You won 80% of Republicans. That's important. You actually did better with younger voters than older
Yep.
voters, which
Yep.
is, you're asking about a surprise. That was fairly shocking. And he still maintains a 55% lead over Nikki Haley. So, that's great, right? The tough parts are he lost 60% of independents, self-styled independents, right? He lost 56% of college graduates, which isn't exactly terrible for him. That's actually
No.
within range. Is 66% of first-time voters, right? But then again, when you look at the general election, how many first-time voters are there to come in, and are
Yeah.
they, and then only lost narrowly women with children. So he was all the talk last time around was how suburban women were gonna, blast him. Well, narrowly losing women with children is actually a good sign
That's
for him.
very good for him. Yeah, especially with
You
with a
know,
woman on the ballot. Yeah.
right? Who, by the way, said, it's a fella and a lady. So she leaned
She
into
was
it.
leaning. She was
Yeah,
leaning at Sheryl
I mean,
Sandberg style. She was leaning in.
yeah, but with like 1950s terminology. The last time I heard someone being called a fella or a lady,
She
I mean,
really
is somewhere. I don't
I
understand it. I mean, can you be any more traditional Republican? I mean, I just couldn't understand where that came from. I mean, the words you
I
use really matter.
I don't know.
Nobody calls each other like that
I
these
don't
days.
know who she's doing because she's been using the fella thing for a while, like it's guys and dolls, but it
I
doesn't
don't
activate
understand.
Republicans. It doesn't activate the
No,
independents that you really want. She's not
no.
speaking in code to other moms. That's not how moms at the soccer practice talk with each other. It's how a
I'm
gangster
married
talks
to
to
a
each other.
mom. Yeah, I'm married to a
Yeah.
mom. She doesn't consider herself a lady, and she doesn't consider me a fella. So
Yeah.
I don't know who does that. It's just so weird. And like, if you're trying to be approachable and, the mom next door, the normie, I mean, normies don't talk like that. And so it sort of exposes, this kind of like a little bit of artifice about her, which is like, okay, she's written that down and it looks really good on paper, but it sounds terrible out of your mouth.
The biggest thing rhetorically that I think she's fallen into a big problem with, and I think it was exposed during that DeSantis one-on-one debate, is
Yeah.
that she's chasing this idea of you lie. She repeated a million times DeSantisLies.com or RonLies.com. I forget what the URL was, but it was like
Yeah.
every time
It's already
this is the
gone.
time
Yeah.
this is the time
Yeah.
for you to explain it. This is the time for you to explain why he is lying instead of
And
just
why it
rushing
matters
to
to
get
you, not just
exactly.
matters to me. Him lying about me matters to me. Him lying about things I care about and you, that actually matters. Like this it was very inside baseballish,
And
like who cares? I don't,
she
Nikki, I'm sorry, your feelings are actually hurt. Like, she felt the piece of emotion she showed was when someone lied about her. Well,
Well, also it's like
okay,
on the
make it
stage
matter.
last night.
Yeah.
On the stage last night, she goes, "I can't wait to get to South Carolina because South Carolina knows me. They know I never raised the gas tax." And it's like, this is not the
No, they
problem.
probably don't.
The
They
problem,
probably don't.
well,
Yeah.
whether or not they do, the problem isn't whether or not you raise the gas tax because nobody actually knows. Nobody's going to look it up, and even if the fact checkers put up a thing, no one's really going to care. What the
Right.
issue is that you seem like the kind of person that would say one thing and do another because you have said a lot of things
Because
and
you
then
are
did
that
another.
person. Right.
So you are highlighting a thing
Right.
that has a modern peg to it. That's the issue.
Right. Because if you were never Trump, you'd be saying things like, no, I'm not going to vote for a guy who's going to be a felon, a convicted felon. No, I'm not going to go and pardon a guy who's going to jail.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to be never Trump Nikki Haley, you got to actually say the thing. And if you don't, and you're just trying to wink and nod and say, well, chaos somehow follows this guy like he's a chaos magnet or something, like that's a thing. And no, you either create chaos or you are chaos, and he is chaos, and so he doesn't really mind that he's chaos. In fact, he told Doug Burnham in Iowa, yeah, you ran a good campaign, but you weren't really all that controversial. And frankly, a little bit, that's pretty good, And so he understands that chaos is good. And, for him, it doesn't work for a Nikki Haley, but you can't complain about chaos around a person when you're not willing to say, this is why chaos is bad for you. This is why lies are bad for you.
Yeah.
This is why Donald Trump is bad for you. Not just that he's old. We all know he's old, and it's kind of quippy, but a person being old doesn't work. I mean, just saying that we don't need Republican chaos versus Democrat chaos. Well, yeah, but chaos is metaphysical, right? It doesn't matter to a person. And it certainly doesn't matter to voters who are willing to come over in New Hampshire and go out and vote, and it's not going to matter in South Carolina. It's not going to matter in Nevada. It's not going to matter on Super Tuesday. So we're just basically in the end game now, and Haley's got to figure out at some point that she's an accountant, and this is not her hill of beans.
Does she make it to South Carolina? Yes or no?
I think the right answer is no.
Yeah.
But I think she's not there yet. I think when she gets there and she's on the ground for a couple of weeks and she realizes, damn, my polling numbers aren't moving. Even at that point, you gotta just pull it, because the last thing you want to do is just to end your entire political career by losing at home. This is what happened to Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio had a job to go back to. She doesn't, unless she wants to go back to Boeing. And if she wants to do those kinds of jobs, there's a world in which Nikki Haley could be extraordinarily happy and rich and not have to wake up to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
She has to make a decision. Does she want a political future, or does she want a future for herself and her family? And if she wants the latter, she's probably a better human being than most people who run for president. But if she wants to run for president again, then she's got to pull out, because losing her home state is a disaster.
I don't think she makes it, and I don't think she makes it because each one of these polls that are about to come out are going to land like an anvil. Like they are just going to be thudding. And when you had good polling, when you were coming into New Hampshire and you were saying, okay, Christie's out, here's a poll that has us tied, here's a poll that has me within 5%. Here's how we do it. And you can gas yourself up on stuff like that. And I think a lot of people, including me and you, were like, hey, this could actually be a shot. It'll still be an uphill battle, but you'll at least buy yourself a ticket to the dance if you can get New Hampshire and get South Carolina. She's down like 40 in South Carolina. Like, this is not, we're not even in the realm beyond like science fiction for her to come back unless there's a major change in this race. And guess what? She's not the people that does the major change. And the Trump campaign is not the Trump campaign of old that'll just make news. Like, we saw something that I think should be very, very worrisome for not only Nikki Haley, but also Biden going forward. Trump's good with bringing the henchmen now. Like, he brought Vivek up and was just like, oh, he was more mad about Nikki Haley than me. Hey, Vivek, come do 5 minutes on how Nikki Haley is an absolute fraud.
He gave him 1 minute.
1 minute. And he just came up, just ethers her, just says the things that Trump used to say, and that used to be the thing that you could clip if you were the opposition and say, what unhinged, spittle flying nonsense. But now he's got goons. He's got goons that he's comfortable delegating to. And now the worst situation that Biden could be in is magnanimous. I want everybody. I'm softer on abortion than you want to make me out to be. Trump. And if he's comfortable, like, that was the always thing, is that Trump wasn't going to be comfortable giving anyone else a spotlight. He seems more into it, at least for that kind of stuff. And if that's the case, that's bad. That's bad for people that want to run against him.
Yeah, first of all, I think he just likes Vivek because Vivek's crazier than he is, and he don't forget everything that Trump does is within the realm of WWE, right?
Yes.
And so
Hall of Famer.
there's hype guys, there's guys who come in and their entire job is to hype up the crowd. He gets it. He's
Yeah.
the goon, but he's got a hype guy, and so
Yeah.
he's cool with it. Like he doesn't mind being the goon. He just minds not being a goon by himself. And so the
Yeah.
idea that he's up there and he has a squadron of people behind him, that was a good stagecraft. One of the small things about the Trump campaign that they've actually kind of nailed is the stagecraft of the night of. Okay.
Yeah.
You see this, it feels big, it feels impressive. There's a whole bunch of he's got a squad. Nikki Haley goes up, there's a whole bunch of her logos in the background, and she's the only one there.
Yeah.
Not a great look. It's the I'm very lonely and I'm going home soon campaign. But, like Christy said, I mean, look, she may not have gotten smoked in New Hampshire. I mean, she lost. But when you're looking at 30 and 40-point leads, that's a smoke show. And unless she wants to get smoked out of politics, she's got to get out. And if she doesn't want to, that's cool. Like if she wants to go down fighting and be able to say to a corporate board, hey, look, I fought him for as long as I possibly could. I even fell on the sword and went to my home state. I'm looking at my new life now and think it's pretty good,
Pretty good.
Pretty good, right?
I'm gonna buy a boat. I'm gonna buy a boat and read a bunch of books this summer. That could be the life of Nikki Haley.
And I'm gonna go travel.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go see the world.
There we go.
I'm actually gonna go and enjoy my life as opposed to not enjoy my life because I have to go and deal with this mouthpiece. And guys like Vivek who can't wait to dunk on me. So I think that's where we are. And again, to your point, Trump's run a good campaign. The stagecraft is good. The on the ground is very good. Mm-hmm. And frankly, I mean, Nikki Haley, she just doesn't have it.
Where does this leave NeverTrump? Because it kind of feels like at this point, it's kind of a broken coalition. Either you're going to vote for Biden or you're going to sit out. And then at this point, in all likelihood, this will be Trump's last race. So Trump will be gone, and we're just going to be in the aftermath past that, although the America First movement and the MAGA crowd coalition will certainly live on. But it kind of feels like the Never Trump movement that began back in early 2016 is this was kind of the last ride, and the lights are getting turned out.
Yeah. I mean, this is the last Never Trump bumper sticker that I'll buy. I think when we end up with is, Biden Republicans. I mean, you end up with Republicans who are going to go over and occasionally vote Democrat because they can't stomach MAGA or they can't stomach Trump, right? And so where you end up, let's say, 4 years from now, is who inherits the Trump mantle, right? And I can't imagine an Elise Stefanik presidency. I mean, I can imagine a vice presidency, but the idea that she's going to somehow light it up and bring the whole coalition home, it's much more likely that like a Don Jr. runs. It's much more likely that an actual Trump decides to run again for something, or somebody who has never taken shots at Trump gets a pass. I mean, clearly a Tim Scott is looking to pick that up, but as far
recently
as
engaged. Recently engaged.
Yeah.
That's a little polish, maybe getting ready for something bigger that all of a sudden now he needs to get engaged.
In 4 years, you could have a marriage, a kid, a dog, and a house. And you can actually put that together without AI and somehow create a Tim Scott presidential campaign, right? With the full endorsement of Trump. Because he helped beat Haley in South Carolina or scare her off from South Carolina.
Yeah.
There's a chit, right? A minor chit, but it's there. But, I mean, the wife doesn't, or the potential wife, the metaphysical wife at this point, because she wasn't on stage last night.
She wasn't.
We'll see what she wants, right? Because, we're all, when you're married to somebody, they get a say.
Happy wife, happy life. Yeah. That's the way to
Right.
go.
And, she's marrying a senator. She's not so sure she wants the MAGA experience. So we'll see about that. We're not even sure if she wants the Tim Scott experience at this point, because even though they're engaged, sometimes engagements go away, right?
You never know.
If he's not VP, you never know if she's sticking around. So yeah, we Never Trump is basically over as an enterprise.
Yeah.
Because once Trump is gone, people will go ahead and vote for a Tim Scott who has Trump's backing. It's not going to be a thing where you can't support a candidate who's supported by Trump. So I think
not to get too far down the road. So we're talking about 2032 or 2028 already. But normally the way, if Donald Trump does win again, then it's usually a John Majors, it's a George H.W. Bush. It is somebody that is the competent technocrat or the competent bureaucrat that can inherit it, because you don't ever want to match that in a lot of ways.
And take it one last leg. Yeah,
exactly. That was part of the reason why the Obama-Hillary thing was so awkward, was that it was like two very strong, very defined personalities. And they're like, cool, seamless baton pass. No, it wasn't, as we found out. All right. One of the things that you did the last time we talked that I really, really loved was just the gigantic grab bag of stuff that is in the political world, because there's a lot of political stories happening, a lot of races. It's not just the presidential race that is going to be decided in 2024. So what has popped up on Michael Cohen's radar?
Certainly the race on Long Island. I'm from Long Island.
The Santos special.
The Santos special, baby. I can't wait. Yeah. To me, the Santos special is so much fun because it's close to my home. It's close to my heart. I'm going back to New York to go see the Knicks play this year. I'm going back to see Billy Joel play. So these are my people. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
So they have a decision to make. Do they want somebody who is a Republican, or they want who's better than DeSantis, who's better, I'm sorry, DeSantis, who's better than Santos, or do they want to just go Democrat? And they seem like they've got a fairly straight up race right now. So to me, that's going to be fascinating. I don't think that we're even close to where that's going to be, because the former Republican representative from there, Tom Suozzi, who ran for governor, lost, and is now going to go try and get his seat back. He's trying to paint, the opponent as somebody who's, a Trump person, and on and on. So we'll see what the dynamic is on Long Island for, okay, well, I'll accept a Trump person, but I won't accept a Santos person, right?
Yes.
And so I want to see where that goes. So I think that you end up looking at a House right now that's almost evenly divided. Like literally, if someone drops dead, we're going to have a leadership race. That's where we are at this point. We have a 1-vote majority in the House, and they can't fill that California seat fast enough with a Republican. So we're in this weird place right now where, from a policy standpoint and from a politics standpoint, we're basically in stasis. There's nothing that Speaker Johnson can do without losing the speakership. So I think these campaigns are super interesting. All these specials are interesting to me. And then when you look at the Senate races, the most interesting one to me at this point is Arizona. What is Kyrsten Sinema going to do? She's being quoted in various places saying she wouldn't mind the Nikki Haley off-ramp, to go be a college president or to work for Boeing or for whatever. She's open for business. And so I don't know how much she's going to want to look at, the Gallego, Lake experience.
Kerry Lake. Yeah.
Kerry Lake. Yeah. She may just look at it and go, I'm done. These people are idiots. We can't get anything done. I'm going to go out and make some money. Don't forget Kyrsten Sinema's background. She doesn't come from wealth. And so making money would be a significant improvement in her life. And it's not, and it's different for people who come from wealth. They take it for granted. For her, she may say, you know what? Hey, I was a senator for a couple of terms. Great. I'm going to go out and make some money and be a happy person. And so it's possible that's the off-ramp that actually jiggers this whole race, because then you've got Lake Gallego, and that's an incredibly base-driven election.
Yeah.
And who knows who's going to come out of that scrum.
Especially with the presidential ticket on top of that, because that's going to drive insane turnout, and it will certainly bring out the MAGA base for Kerry Lake. By the way, You hear that tape? The Kerry Lake tape being offered money to drop out of the race by the head of the Republican Party?
Oh, there's a tape. Lordy, there are tapes. Oh my God.
The tape.
No, I have not heard that. We got to put that in the show notes or something.
No. Oh my God. Trust me. We will play it. Yeah, she was wearing a wire and recorded the conversation. So she came out months ago and said that this happened. And of course, because she's Kerry Lake, people didn't take it seriously. But now she has produced the tape, and it's DeWitt, the head of the Arizona GOP, the guy who was the COO of Trump 2020, saying people back east wanted to know what her number was to see whether or not she would pause. Just 2 years, just pause. But he's on tape saying it. It's
how's he still have a job?
He won't. This broke yesterday, so I do not. Okay, I cannot imagine. You cannot be out here saying, "Hey, please, Kerry Lake, the favor, the apple of the eye of the leader of the party. Please don't run. We'll make sure you're taken care of." That's
this morning, Vivek Ramaswamy's one job is to go to Arizona and kill a dude.
Yes.
Oh my God. Yeah.
She says
it's over.
She's on tape saying they're gonna have to effing kill me. Like that's I mean,
that's
which
what you
is
said.
Very badass. She knows she's wearing the wire.
That wire's coming out.
Yeah, she knows she's wearing the wire.
You wear the wire when you know what you're going to release.
But also,
that's a great line. It's a great line.
Also, if I was wearing a wire, I'd be saying badass stuff too. I would definitely. I would want all the hardcore lines.
That's the T-shirt. You're going to have to effing kill me.
Right.
Oh my God. Nothing speaks better to Arizona, a live-free, state.
Yeah,
you don't go there to be ruled by the corporate elite.
Land of Goldwater,
away from people, right? Mm-hmm. Land of Goldwater, right? Oh my God, Vivek's on a plane right now.
No, I think that guy is he's gonna be driven out of town. Like that, the DeWitt is just gonna be. That's it. He's done. Because also he's a lazy bag man for the rich people. He's screwed on all levels because he wasn't even a good enough bag man to have a relationship with Kerry Lake to offer the bribe.
Oh my God. I can't believe this is happening. Thank God there are more races other than the presidency.
Oh my God, I know,
right?
Yeah.
Because then we get stuff like this. These are the gifts that make podcasts great, that make this podcast specifically great, and that make America great again.
Exactly.
This is fantastic.
No, yeah. We have a lot of good ones. Yeah, Casey McCormick is going to be good, and obviously the ones that might actually
a little snoozier
Senate.
though. A little snoozier.
Well, I think
right.
No one's
wearing a wire. Yeah, no one's wearing a wire on that one at this point.
The Pennsylvania GOP are like, you want to know what? Let's tone it down. We had Mastriano, we had Dr. Oz, we tried loud.
Yeah.
We tried loud. Yeah. Let's try McCormick. He might be George W. Bush. That's their pitch. Let's be very boring and then just hope that Trump's coattails bring us over and Casey hasn't run a competitive race in a while. That's their hope.
Yeah.
All right.
Eternal. Yeah.
Michael Cohen, thank you again so much. Where can people find you?
You can find me at michaelcohen.us. I'm not on Twitter. I'm on Threads. So you'd have to find what Threads is and then find me there.
You sound so happy
Michael
about
Cohen.
it.
No, at Michael Cohen. Look, I understand what it is. Look, if you're into politics, you're probably on Twitter /X. I get it. I'm there too. So if you want to DM me, I'm there.
You're open.
I check them, weekly or so. But I stay away from there because I honestly think that that's an echo chamber that has not really been very revealing. It's been a place where DeSantis got caught up, Haley got caught up, all the other candidates. So I think to a real extent, like we need to sort of dial back, our social media
in general. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we do, and sort of like try to start talking to real humans again, so that we understand really what's going on. And I think because most real humans have sort of they tried social media, hated it, or got scared off by it, or got angered by it, stepped away from it, and went back. And I think it's really incumbent upon us who actually do what we do for a living, and certainly what I do for a living, and as far as polling, to go and make sure that we are listening to voters as opposed to listening to social media. I mean, the best place to find me is at michaelcohen.us.
There we go.
You find me where all the things are, and then we go.
All those things. Yeah. Yes. No. Do that. How could you knock a outlet for which one of the big intellectual heavyweights is Cat Turd 2? Right? Like how could you do it? Salute to
You're
Cat
just not
Turd
going to be able
2.
to break. You're just not going to be able to break through.
Well, I mean, look, yeah. Although that being said, X, especially now, look, love it or hate it, nothing beats the real time information when things are happening. Nothing beats it. Still.
I was reading it yesterday. I just wasn't posting.
Exactly. There we go. You want to know what? The Ironclad Commandment. Never post.
Never post.
Never post.
never
post.
Never tweet. Certainly never tweet.
Exactly. All right, Michael, thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. Talk to you soon.